or past trauma.
Now, you talked about being compassionate with yourself. What does that look, what do you mean when you say compassionate with self? Because so many of us are hard on ourselves, just naturally, you know?
You know, you're really kind of surprised. So a lot of women that I've spoken to are really surprised that they're grieving, you know, 2 years later, 3 years later. I met a woman 3 years, she said, I can't get out of bed. She said, I can't get out of the bed. She said, I am so, but everybody is different. And so I feel that there's no right or wrong about that. And that particular person that couldn't get out of bed after 3 years, she is now remarried. And
She got out of bed.
Yes, she got out of bed.
Yes, you have to move.
I was going to take it further.
Keep it going.
Don't go there.
Don't go there.
There you go.
It is important not to dwell in it for so long. You must get up, get moving. You must explore different experience than what you did before. You must step out.
But there's some factors that impact on that, and that's the intensity of the relationship, the role that each individual had on each other's lives.
Whether it was codependent.
Right, codependencies, dependencies, whether, you know, they have, they can see the next step, the sense of self and strength, the internal strength and ego of the individual, mourning and grieving. So there's a lot of factors that make it what we said, the unique experience and the length and the duration.
And sometimes people feel as though, like somebody said to me, oh, my friend, she just lost her husband, it was sudden. And when I spoke to the woman, she said, I cannot even talk to you right now. She said, because I have to move out of my house. I have 3 children. I don't know what I'm going to do. So she said, I can't even process. She said, that's what she said, I have to keep it moving. So she may not get an opportunity to really deal with that loss until, you know, many months or years. I don't like to put a time limit on grief. I don't think it's good to try and force a person to say, okay, now you got to get on with your life. It's you're walking into a new normal. It's very shocking when you wake up the next day after your spouse has died and you go in the bathroom and you see 2 sets of towels and you say to yourself, oh my goodness, I mean, this is something small. You say to yourself, oh my goodness, I have 2 sets of towels. This is a towel I used. I don't know, you know. Or you go into the cupboard and you look and you see your spouse's mug and you don't know what to do with that. And it's going to bring up all of these sad and traumatic feelings. And you have to deal with all of those the onslaught of feelings from all of those different experiences that you're going to have after you lose a spouse.
I sometimes though wonder, you know, there's the accident and then there's the long-term illness. And I remember when my sister, of course not a spouse, she was 38 years old, but she had ovarian cancer, and when she died, extremely painful, but we were ready. It was almost as if cancer helped us deal with the eventuality of her death. Whereas if somebody comes home after a car accident, you know, I'm out of here. You know, I'm just, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, one is a process which allows the family the time frame to take in what's going on and process the loss and experience all the feelings and the letting go, not only of you, but also for your sister and her experience. Whereas the other one is very sudden, it hits you abruptly, you're in shock, you're traumatized, and you have no closure, no process, and that's, you know, the 2 very different experiences. Both are painful, but very different.
Yeah, well, one gives you a chance. You can grieve that process. Like I said, my husband has been sick for 10 years. So my process for grieving started then, but it slowly took on wheels within that last 2 years, because I was seeing his health decline. I was seeing the sadness. I was seeing the coming to closure, as I said before, of his life being ended. And to live with someone who knows that their time is limited, it is very difficult. However, you find that joy in that person and what they are doing in that moment or in that time or in those weeks in their moms. And
You were
then
great at that,
Thank you,
I must
Tony.
say.
Thank you.
You lived that life.
Yes,
She
yes, you have to live in the
always-
moment, live that
She
dash.
was all right.
And
She was helping
experience
me enjoy my life
Yeah.
because she was going to enjoy their life.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you
yes.
get that chance to, as that song said,
dash.
dance. Enjoy that moment. Do things with your partner. And then when he has passed or when she has passed, continue to do those things. You'll never forget them. They'll always be in your heart. You share that time with them. But you must move on in a way that you are living your dash, you are living your life, and you find that joy that you need for each day. Because if not, then that's when the sickness comes in. That's when the depression comes in. That's when you stop.
Right.
And you forget that you are here, you are here, you are alive, you are here, and you must continue to move forward in
Yes.
your life.
I agree,
Yes.
but I also think I want to stress, it's
Yes.
very important that you do not skip over the steps of grieving.
Right.
There are some people I know now who've lost spouses and they're still having a hard time. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You don't want to wallow in your grief. My husband had pancreatic cancer and it occurred out of the blue. And so I was still working then, and I was living a dual existence. When I was at work, I was in the real world, and then when I was home, I was in this bubble with my husband trying to care for him. And even though I could not face the fact that this was terminal, it was though. And so when he died, it was as if I did not expect him to die. And he actually told a friend, I had gone to visit a friend, because at this point I was thinking about writing a book, and he had published a lot of books. And I was sitting with him and I said, "What did Chuck say to you?" And he said he knew that you were going to have a hard time. And he said that, but he wanted you to, live your life and rebuild your life. The reason I was in this bubble with my husband, feeling hopeful, was because if I began to feel any other way, I would not have been able to care for him and not feel like all is lost.
Well, now, we'll fast forward. How did you approach the dating? I mean, after a while, you move on, you move through, and then there are other men out there. So let's talk about that too, because we don't just stay there. There's a big life
Some
out there.
people do.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
people
I guess
do.
some people do.
So yes, some
do.
people
Yeah.
say,
That's true.
"I had my one, and this is it." Or I dated somebody and it didn't work out, and now I have my garden and my grandchildren, all these things. So I had, in the very beginning, I had a relative. We were at family reunion. He came over to me. He said, "Look, your husband was wonderful." He said, "But Yvonne," he said, "eventually you are going to meet somebody else." It was the way that he said it, just was so gentle and so kind. I was not thinking about meeting anybody else. I was still married to my husband, and I felt like I was married to him at least for about another 2 or 3 years. But I always remembered those words from my cousin. And then when I began to think, oh, I feel a little lonely, it would be nice to have a companion, somebody to go out with, go here or there, I remembered those words. Now, what helped me do that was my social circle. I had my old social circle, we'll call it the old guard, and then I had my new social work circle, we'll call it the new guard. Sometimes you need to venture forth and meet new people, maybe even a little
absolutely.
bit younger, and they're out there saying, yeah, I'm dating, I'm going online, I met somebody here, I met somebody there. Because the old guard, they were like, okay, I'll meet you for lunch. Okay, how are you doing? Okay, some of them are married. They didn't have any ideas in terms of if I wanted to meet people, like here's what, and plus if I said I was going to go online, for example, they're like frightened, and I would frightened about that idea too. But you need people who can push you forward and say, Yvonne, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that?
And this sounds like it has a lot to do with the coupling. How people were coupled.
Yeah.
Because yours, talk to us about your approach, so to speak.
I think that when you are getting to that point, again, letting go and moving forward in your life, that to have a great love, to have a wonderful love like I had, I'm sure coming into the future, that I will have another great love as well, because I'm open to that. And like once someone says, you know, once your mind is right, that love will come in. And it doesn't matter whether it could take 2 years, it could take 6 months. You have to be open to the love and let it come in. And that friendship in which you will have, or I will have, I will be able to enjoy it. Because
I want to ask a question, because we talked a little bit going back to your friend that couldn't get out of the bed.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I know that very often there's grief counseling.
Yes.
And when my mother passed away, someone got in touch with me to do grief counseling. And I've always wondered if I wouldn't have benefited from it. I didn't. So I'm going to ask, have either of you ladies participated in any type of grief counseling?
Let me just say to you, this is very important. This is what I did. First, I tried pastoral counseling. That was wonderful. And I learned in pastoral counseling that God doesn't do these terrible things. That was the first thing that I learned. Then I went to individual counseling. So I had somebody come to my house, and they sat with me for many weeks, talking to me and praying with me and just helping me get through that initial stage. And then I was ready for group counseling. My bereavement group was the best thing I ever did. My husband died of pancreatic cancer. He was treated at Sloan Kettering Hospital. All the people in this group had spouses that were treated at Sloan Kettering for cancer. So there was a commonality. And I would come into that group. I could say whatever I wanted to say. They could say whatever they wanted to say. They could tell their story from beginning to end. We listened silently, and we supported each other. And I knew that that was the one place I could go, and people would understand, and they wouldn't feel like, oh, she's still talking about that, you know, that kind of thing. And then after that, I also was beginning to expand my social, circle, and I was doing all different kinds of activities. I was still sad and depressed. And then one day, I remember coming home from an event, and my house didn't feel empty anymore. I can also tell you that I have met a wonderful guy about 2 years ago, and we've been dating for about 2.5 years. So when I was ready, somebody wonderful came into my life. And so I just felt hopeful. I knew that when I finally realized, oh, okay, I would like to have somebody in my life, I just knew that God would direct my steps,
And there it is. There's the guy. Sanjay, we're going to wrap, but do you have any
Okay.
closing thoughts for us as well?
My closing thought would be for that person who's at home, who's feeling low, who can't really move, get up, get out, and start living your life, living your dash. And everything will fall into place. May not be in that day or in that week, but you will feel things changing in your life. They will feel that joy coming back slowly.
You're creating a new
Yes,
beginning. It's
yes.
a new beginning. It's a new normal.
Yes, it
and
is.
That's really good.
Excellent.
Good.
Well, ladies, thank you for both sharing your stories. Not a lot you can say except, be blessed.
Yes.
Be
live
blessed in your
yes,
journey.
yes.
Live your lives.
Yes.
And let's cherish the memories of
Yes.
those that we love.
Yes.
So thank you to the Brooklyn Savvy panelistas, and we'll see you next time on Brooklyn Savvy. This program is brought to you by Verizon and Investors Bank.